Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, India over a month long 18th Lok Sabha elections will be held on 19th of April to 1st of June 2024 this year. And subsequently the result will be compiled till 4th of June 2024. In 28 states and 8 union territories, including an illegal and fake attempt into the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as well, where one seat elections would be there. It is the clear violation of the United Nations Security Council resolution and again a black day in Kashmir's history. In Indian elections, about 969 million voters are going to exercise their vote and decide the fate of at least 543 seats out of 545 of the Lok Sabha, and 2 of the seats are going to be nominated by the country's president. But these Indian elections are actually going to held in some astonishing and horrible realities of ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and especially Narendra Modi's project of converting India into a Hindu Rashtra by completely rejecting Muslims and other minorities as they are doing in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, along with that in Manipur, which is quite evident. According to the opposition parties, including the Indian National Congress, some of the other communist parties and all other parties, they are blaming Modi right now that elections are compromised already, as the 2 of the election commissioners' appointment is controversial out of 3. Along with that, most of the opposition leaders are in jail. They are stopped from campaigning right now, and many of the political parties are facing income tax notices from the different departments. Opposition leaders getting worst kind of treatment at the hands of ruling BJP, and now these elections are going to be questions. Most of the international media and international think tanks, they are questioning a pre-poll that whether the ongoing process of election and even on the poll day, which is going to start tomorrow till 1st of June, is going to be whether it's going to be free, fair or transparent in India, how India's democracy is going to prevail, because it is right now under threat. And this is all the opposition calling, the international media along with the international think tanks, what they are saying. Bharatiya Janata Party, the ruling party right now, is actually according to the opposition and many think tanks and the lots of polls suggesting that it is losing in many states, particularly in north and south. In some of the union territories as well, it's getting unpopular despite of the Modi's Godi media, the fake campaigns which were going on in social media, particularly the deep fakes and doctor videos. Along with that, forged economic statistics which were already underpinned by the current regime. Along with that, the huge unemployment, which is 25% to 30% in India right now, corruption, social unrest, state-sponsored terrorism, especially against the minorities and into the region and also globally, because we have witnessed there in Canada like the Sikh leaders' murder, along with that others at that soil. But the quest is all about to give Modi the 3rd consecutive term, and along with that a part of project under the Hindutva ideology, that is the Hindu Rashtra. To talk on this very important and grave area, we have in our studios Tanveer Sultan Awan. He is the geostrategic, geopolitical expert. Most welcome to you, Tanveer sir.
Thank you.
We have Saira Ijaz. She is the analyst. Thank you very much, Saira, for being here. And online joining us, we have Brigadier retired Ghzanfar Shah. He is the strategic affairs expert. Most welcome to you, Brigadier sir. Thank you very much for your time. So my first question to you, Tanveer sir, that how do you see these Indian elections 2024 when democratic institutions, the state organs like judiciary, military are all under Modi's pressure, and some under influence and what the world call the Godi media, despite of their lots of social media supporting BJP, and the media is campaigning for Modi, but the reality is coming straight away out of the India.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal, for having me over. Very interesting subject, and Pakistan is obviously, being India a neighbor and a hostile neighbor, you're very much concerned what's happening in India. Now, to directly answer your question, I'll go a little about it. You see, BJP is a product of RSS. RSS is a philosophy, very clear philosophy.
No doubt.
And the philosophy is that India is Hindustan and Hindustan belongs to Hindus, irrespective. Anybody who's other than Hindu is subservient to an Hindu. So this is the very fundamental philosophy, and to which they don't mince any words. If you refer to so many of their defense minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, has been very, very vocal and very blunt about it. So there are two opinions about what I'm trying to state to you. So every action of BJP is a product of RSS. RSS is the philosophy, the Hindutva philosophy, and BJP is the fulcrum or the operating arm of that philosophy. They had been there even before partition. They could not make that kind of a success till 90s, but 90s onward they have been able to prevail upon Indian politics, and ever since practically they had been in office. Now in BJP, initially when Mr. Vajpayee was there, he was more moderate. Despite that philosophy, you could, there are so many references, the time would not allow me, Mr. Advani and all that, but he was able to cap all that, and he tried to make India secular and a friendly India, even in the SAARC. I hold him in very high esteem.
Definitely.
But ever since Mr. Modi has taken over, ever since initially as Chief Minister of Gujarat, is that massacre about the train, nobody has, I have to tell much about that, and ever since as actions in India. And the recent, his last term.
You're referring to the Samjhauta Express.
Samjhauta, yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, revoking 370 in the Indian Constitution regarding the case. So they are very, very clear about it. That they want to regain the lost glory of India. That's their philosophy. Right from the base of Pamir, Hindu Kush, even to the extent of Kabul and all, till all the way down to the Arabian Sea.
They are going towards Mahabharata,
exactly,
but they are actually
precisely
envisaged in 1926. So they want it to be reality. So, Saira, when we foresee this whole Indian election exercise 2024, as other polls in past, largely those were based upon the extremist Hindutva ideology and the radical Hindu capture and populist thinking. So, how it is going to be called democratic? Do you think that it is heightened in India?
Actually, now the things are very clear about it, as Tanveer Sahab also very mentioned that Modi and the current regime is very much practically following the ideology of RSS. There is no such sort of, they by themselves are violating their own constitution, which is secular in its own nature. So they are not saying it, but they are doing it. So particularly the second term of Prime Minister Modi and the current regime is, is marred with, the restrictive policies on all the civic agencies, civic society, and particularly I would like to mention here that Unlawful Prevention Activities Act. Prevention of Unlawful Activities Act, which is so draconian terror law that under it you can detain anyone with no evidence under any circumstances and unbailable warrant.
Yeah, definitely, because the bail until proven innocent. Because that is entirely changed.
So there is no such type of democracy right now, and Modi.
That's the mockery of democracy, basically.
You can say it, but we would also I would also like to mention here that the current regime has very smartly played as well to to spread their wings in the society by giving handouts, by proving themselves that India is going to be the the leading global player.
Taking your point that smartly played. So Tanveer Sultan
use of technology.
Definitely. Tanveer Sahab, when we are talking about this current regime, the Modi regime, they have silently changed some of the rules, and now there is a controversy even before election in India that the election commission was actually engineered, that was tampered by installing two of the election commissioners by Modi regime, and they are from the IAS, the Indian Civil Service. So this is a huge dilemma in India right now, and opposition is criticizing that this is the pre-poll rigging in elections. Modi wants sweep it and one-sided election.
I'll second Ms. Saira. You see, yes, they are very intelligently. Now, let's analyze to further elaborate to your question. The two divides which had been very significant in India, the elite and the masses, a very bleak elite. They have been able to capture both by having a pro-capitalist advantage to the elite. You see how well they have encashed that. And at the same time, those deprived Indians, those masses, they have been encashed themselves very well over there too. And with their high-handedness, they yet have been able to get away with that. Now over there, they get an additional advantage of the international lobby, because the growth of China, to which India directly becomes a beneficiary of it, their importance, and they, like the atrocities in Kashmir, they have totally cordoned. I mean, one of that European Union delegation which we went, they made sure nothing comes out of what they had seen. So they have been able to prevail even on the international forum, and they have been able to getting away with it. So they have very intelligently operated and encashed the situation. They are also lucky. There's a very interesting aspect that I really wonder that, you know, when you are in government, at the same time where you are at so much of an advantageous position, you have so many disadvantages also, because you may not be able to, and generally you cannot perform to what you have claimed.
Yeah, definitely.
But yet to make the second term, and that to expect to be beneficiary third time, because I would say over here there's a very missing element. I really wonder why there's not a potent leadership, opposition leadership in India. To be very honest, they have been a beneficiary of that too.
Yeah, definitely. There must have to be a strong opposition over there. But unfortunately, under the BJP regime, opposition is also suppressed, and they are suppressed by different means right now. They are incarcerated as well. Brigadier Retired Ghzanfar, when we are talking about the credibility of the Indian elections, Modi has been accused of silencing his critics across, whether they are historians, whether they are writers, whether they are journalists or media houses, even the social media. There was a crackdown on social media as well. So it has created a Godi media, along with that the same kind of Godi writers and historians as well. They are dictating their history right now and distorting the prevailing history now. How do you see the credibility of Indian elections, which are starting tomorrow?
Thank you very much, Faisal. A very insight analysis you have undertaken in your introduction also. And you see, when you go to the Indian election, you know, you have to see the regional situation, the regional elections also. I just feel it that way. You see Bangladesh, what happened in Bangladesh. Bangladesh kept 25,000 people. Hasina Wajid locked them into jail, went to the election, won the election, and now is ruling the country. And what had been the tactics of the Hasina Wajid, you know that. Bangladesh shares the border with India. There is generally the ruling governments, if you see their tendencies had been, and the ruling leadership, whatever the ruling leadership may be in any country, they have used all the state education, state institutions to win the election. Now, Indian democracy is a paradoxical democracy. Indian claim of claiming that they are not a religious country, or they do not believe on they have a multi type of religions. They have been targeting all the minorities, and that has come into the notice. And you know it very well, what happened with the Muslims, what happened with the Sikhs when they came onto the road, what has happened with CAA, and when in CAA you combine with NRC, which is their National Registration Act, how many people will be deprived of? There were 20 million Muslims which had migrated from Bangladesh to India. How would be they deprived of the basic rights? Then BJP also proposes another thing, which is the Uniform Civil Code. And in Uniform Civil Code, what would happen? That all those that which relate with the Parsis, Hindus, divorce, marriage, social, all will be deprived. So in India, basically.
And even there is a campaign going on after the elections in Bangladesh, India out, Indian products out campaign over there. Then we have seen in Maldives and Nepal as well.
And moreover, you have said, if you see India has got problem with all the regional powers, whether it is Nepal, whether it is Bhutan, whether it is Pakistan. So basically, there is a Hindutva philosophy. Whenever you combine politics with the religious input, with the religious extremism, it becomes a powerful tool in the hands of those people who are ruling at that point of time. Like the Ram Mandir temple, where Modi went himself. There's a great divide between Muslims and Narendra Modi-led government because of that. That another nara another slogan which has been taken by Modi is 400 seats ek baar, 400 seats this time. Now,
Definitely.
These 400 seats.
I want to elaborate. I want to that you must elaborate it. What's your thinking that whether BJP will be going to attain what they claim actually 450 seats or at least 370? What the controversial pre-poll estimates or BJP decline to around 220 from 303 compared to 2019 elections. Do you think that it is going to happen? Because the ground realities in India are suggesting something else that is not supporting the claim of 400 or 400 plus.
You see, India has got, as you said, it has got 960 million people. 48% votes in India is of the Indian vote. There are 1 million polling stations which have been established. And you said how they have manipulated to appoint the ICS officer as the election campaigner. So they are going
officers, yes.
Yeah, they are
two IAS officers, yes.
They are going to manipulate elections, and because of that manipulation, the present statistics, there are two statistics. One is the regular statistics which are coming through the media, and then there is a very famous Phaldi Satta Bazaar. I mean, the where you bet. There's a prediction of Satta Bazaar also, and what the independent analyst and what does the Satta Bazaar say? They say that there is going to be a 3.4% increase in the vote of in the votes of NDA, and there's going to be a 35% increase in the votes of the opposition, which is Congress-led. You know, there are 2,600 political parties in India. Out of those 2,600 political parties, there are only 10 political parties, which is the DMK, TNM, NPP, and BSP, which are prevalent in the opposition or in the government functioning. Now the NDA is going to, as a forecast, that they may win 365 seats. This time they say that they are going to win about 365 seats out of 543 seats. And as far as the opposition, they say Congress and other, they may win 121, 122 seats, which were 95 in 2019. And this is what this.
Ghzanfar sahab, these are basically the statistics which is straight away coming up from the pre-polls. So it means that if the BJP has some sort of a pre-poll assessment, that then that might tell us about 400 seats or 400 plus. But if there is a pre-poll assessment from the Indian National Congress or their allies like India, so might be they have more than 300 or 350 seats. But the ground reality suggests something else. And Tanveer sahab, when we are talking about northern India, it has at least 210 seats. And last time in 2019, when Modi's BJP consolidated, that was they gained much of seats of that area. But in north right now, it seems a different situation because of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, what India has done, revoking 370, then also curbing and splitting it into the two union territories and lots of other mayors, and they are still the people of Kashmir are still in an open air jail and incarcerated lots of leaders. in UP, Uttar Pradesh, situation is entirely different. Then in Madhya Pradesh, again, they are having lots of difficulties over there. In Bihar and Rajasthan, in Haryana as well, because of the Kisan March and all that, and even in Gujarat as well. So how do you see that? Because that was unprecedented in 2014 and 2019. But right now, it seems that most of the experts say that they are losing at least 40 to 50 seats over there in northern India.
Thank you. I'll continue where Brigadier Ghzanfar left. You see, it's very important to answer your question. We have seen these regional elections, that the true sentiment of the people, is it really reflected on the poll day? That's a very great question. Now, what you have expressed is the sentiment of the people. Agreed, I agree. The news, although I don't have a very in-depth analysis about the respective provinces, but by and large what you have stated, the general impression is correct. But the way they are engineering and the pre-polled manipulation is being done, like 3 commissioners removing 2 and having 1 of their choice, despite the instructions of the
One
Indian
was
Supreme
already
Court.
in favor of
Thank
BJP,
you, sir.
and
Precisely.
2 were installed
Right,
then afterwards.
right. So now, keeping this in mind, this already gives a very clear alignment that the turnout which is going to be officially reflected, is it really truly the sentiment of the people of India?
You're absolutely right.
So how to fill in this void? Because then that is going to be a state apparatus decision, and that becomes the verdict. And like I said, that BJP has been getting away by virtue of the international forum, because where do you go? Then you seek justice from various international forums. And over there too, BJP is serving the purpose very well, and India means a lot to them as of now. So what you have mentioned, I fully endorse that. But to really encash that, and is that sentiment truly going to be reflected, is a very big question mark.
Thank you very much for your point. Well taken. Saira, when we are talking about North, but what about South? Because India, in Indian South, earlier BJP got only 29 out of 129 seats, and the alliance with Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal, then you have lots of other stalwarts there in Tamil Nadu, in all of other areas. Indian BJP particularly, they are seems weaker over there. Do you think they are going to gain something over there?
Actually, the current regime of BJP government has very actively participated and worked tirelessly to creating conflicts on the basis of region and religion. And and to some extent, as I mentioned earlier, they have been into the position of manipulating the things, as we have seen right after 2019, the revocation of the article status of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, and then the last year the global mega event of having G20 summit in the India and portraying India as a leading and giving handouts and the provision of cheap electricity and the gas to the marginalized people. So, and by having, and don't forget the role of Bollywood, because Bollywood is a mega thing in India.
Definitely.
And having
I'm coming towards
and having a great sport of Bollywood divas and the Bollywood with the BJP. But again, as I mentioned, that there right now, as I was like interpreting it, like 2 things are going simultaneously. One is the biased media backed by the government, and which is portraying that there is no, the current regime or the current government, Modi aaya hi aaya, and the Modi's guarantee is there, and all that such sort of slogans. That one picture, or some scholars and some write-ups, some websites, some they are just showing that there is no doubt that
very few, definitely very few are
on
doing
the other hand,
right
neutral
now,
scholars, neutral writers, neutral journalists, neutral media reports, they are showing what you have mentioned, that particularly in North and in West Bengal, things are not as they
not only in
they
West
were
Bengal, but also in entire South, BJP is feeling the heat.
Because they have introduced such sort. So I would like to one last thing that they have also introduced such sort of laws and rules which are detrimental to the Christians, to the Muslims, and to the non-Hindus. While they have introduced such laws in particularly tax reforms, which are directly beneficial to the Hindus.
Definitely.
So these things definitely will impact the
That
vote
is all
bank
is the
of
part
BJP.
of engineering right now.
Yeah.
Brigadier retired Ghzanfar, but what you foresee, as earlier it was the slogan that there would be a Modi government in future. Then BJP turned it into that a BJP government would be in future. Now they are propagating that there would be an NDA government, that is the alliance with the BJP and different other parties. So even that not winning their allies when it comes to BJP, because they are not considering earlier their allies, because they are getting much majority from the Indian poll. But right now they are much frustrated. There looks very much panic among the ruling party, particularly the BJP, and they want their success through their alliance, their alliance parties and all others. So do you think that there's something is changing on ground, and Modi is actually feeling the heat, BJP is feeling the heat, and there is something changing despite the weaker opposition in India?
Faisal, the ground situation is to be kept in view if you want to analyze the formation, the future, and the present state of the Modi or the Modi's government. I call him Modi, not the Modi, because he's been Modi for India, has been Modi for the region, he's been Modi for the Muslims, he's been Modi for the minority. He has done all those things which probably Hitler and Mussolini could have had done in their own piece of time. Because in 1925, when RSS was raised, the RSS was raised, which is the BJP's product of the RSS. It was raised on the basis of the Hitlerism, and it was raised with the basis of the hatred. And hatred said, the RSS preface said in their book, which Hajwar wrote, that in India only the Hindus are going to live. So this is the face of Narendra Modi's government. Now, there's a very famous party, and you all know that, Aam Aadmi Party.
Aam Aadmi Party, yes.
What has happened to Aam Aadmi Party? Their leader has been arrested. Their operation leader has been arrested. Their deputy leader has been arrested. The mood in India is at this point of time, being a democracy, they claim that they are a democracy, they are a secular state. They are acting against all these basic principles. And there's been mass arrests which are going on. So what the way I see the angle, whatever, I mean, you see, if you go to Trinamool Congress Party, which is Mamata Banerjee, and Mamata Banerjees are already won. They say she's going to win when there are 42 seats in West Bengal. And they say Mamata Banerjee is going to win about 28 seats this time. So in the areas where BJP is in power, that is Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, or Uttarakhand is a very big minority. Rajasthan is a very big area where BJP had won 25 seats in 2019. This time they say they are going to win 20 to 23 seats. This is actually basically what I want to say is the projections of the analyst and the projections of the Satta Bazaar, or where the bets are done. But the day you would go into election and the pre-election maneuvering which has been done, that is totally being done and will be done on the election day. You know, election are going to spread for, it is going to be in 7 phases for 43 days. And in 7 phases and 43 days, you can change the configuration of election.
Definitely. You are absolutely right. When we are talking about, is it correct that through BJP's anti-Muslim and anti-minority policies, they secured at least the extremist Hindu votes? Earlier, when we are analyzing overall the 10 years performance of the, it seems that, and it is not me or anyone else saying from Pakistan, actually the historians from India, the real-time journalists, they are saying it, that democracy is in crisis, having corruption over there, the destruction of social fabric, The economy is in perils and unemployment is around 25% to 30%. Farmers are at roads and unrest across India, but BJP and its leadership misleading the people.
Very interesting question, very interesting question. You see, whenever, it's a general philosophy, whenever any political party would restrict itself to a particular theme, it will marginalize itself. But interestingly so, 90s onward, having projected Hindutva as their fundamental slogan, their fundamental philosophy of politics, they are gaining. Despite the fact that all those elements, the Muslim sentiment, the other minorities, the Sikh element, the farmers' revolt, that was practically a revolt in India. The Akali Dal Hindu separatist movement in Canada, Hardeep, all that put together, yet they feel they are going to get through with it. It's a very interesting academic question. That means to say, if you take on its apparent value, that they've been able to sell their point of view within the same India. Now, is it so that those Hindus who were more of secular mind have also bought that contention? Because if you talk in terms of population demographics and on pro rata basis even over the years if you take the same magnitude, the Muslims have increased in the same proportionate ratio number what the Hindus and the population is. Then why is it so that you marginalize yourself and you, instead of taking the whole envelope, you say that no, this is the particular school of thought we are going to promote. And yet if you keep on expanding, and they are, the fact is that with this tyrant, I won't say I mean there's nothing close to even democracy what their philosophy is, but yet they've been able to sell. I don't know how many seats they get or what's going to be the fate of this, but apparently it seems that they would be probably in government, maybe as coalition, maybe weaker than before or what say, but they still stand a great prospect.
Well said, well said. And Saira, when we are talking about, you were earlier mentioning about the film industry. So what about the Bollywood is under the Modi capture, and it seems that 10 of the films released earlier than the polls, and those were all on Modi and it's BJP and it's Hindutva election. So how do you see that? Because they are campaigning through films, from artificial intelligence, from social media, from the regular media, the traditional media, and they're doing all that, whatever they want, and doing it freely.
Actually, Bollywood is one of the main now pillars or the face of the India. There is no doubt about it, and it has played and it plays a significant role in the India's economy. It, it provides employment to millions of people. So there is no doubt about it that Bollywood is very important politically in India. And I would not only on Modi, but many films like Animal, which is a blockbuster hit movie, it's totally against Pakistan. They're anti-Muslim and they personify a very extremist sort of Muslims in their movies, like having black coal in their eyes, having topis and the the scarves on their shoulder, just to portray them as terrorists, as if all Muslims wear and they look like that. Anyhow, that's again the part of the propaganda. That's again the part of their smartness, how politically and socially they are successful in that, and we need to admit it.
Well
and one thing I would like over here, that somehow in the early 90s, people have rejected the the family politics or dynastic politics when it comes to Congress, because it was very astonishing to see that who were the forefronts. BJP or RSS was nowhere in the partition, in the movement, independence movement. It was Nehru, it was Congress who actually fought for their freedom. But later on, after 3 to 4 decades, their dynastic politics was ignored.
You are absolutely right. That's the one factor.
That's the one factor.
Definitely. Brigadier Ghzanfar, when we are talking about the ultimate future of the 14.3% of the Muslim population of India, it seems that if Mr. Modi gets the 3rd consecutive term, as Muslim scholars terms this election as an endorsement of Muslim genocide in India. Do you think that due to Modi's anti-Muslim and anti-Islam policies, Muslims are going to be completely rejected in India in future?
There are 3-4 aspects to it one has to see. One has to see it historically. And if you see it historically, count the number of fasadat and the number of anti-Muslim riots which have taken place in India. And if you start right from 1947, there are about 43 major riots which have happened in India, where there have been there's been a massive killing of Muslims. And there was a time in Delhi and Bombay said that even the canals were filled with the blood of the Muslims when the riots took place. And recently, what happened in Gujarat and what happened with Ahsan Jafri, who fought election against Narendra Modi, that his body was cut into 40 different pieces and it was hanged on the tree outside Modi's house. And then there was a man by the name of Babu Bajrangi who said that we took all the Muslims into one of the corner and we burnt them with the oil, and we cut with the women who were in family way, we cut their fetus and took out their fetus and put it on their Burma. And after that, when the case went to the court, my elder brother Narendra Modi saved me from all the everything, from all the punishments, and that came into his own statement. Quote Babu Bajrangi. This is the actual face of India against Muslims. But there are what is actually the condition? Now, what is the ground condition? The ground condition is there is divide in the Muslims there too. There are some analysts, some scholars, and there are Muslims who are divided into the Indian parties. Like there are Muslims who are in Congress, so there are Muslims in BJP also. And if you talk of Mr. Owaisi, who talk of Muslims' right, and you said when you say as a Pakistani independent analyst that there's going to be a repression on Muslims, they say don't worry about it, we can deal it with ourselves. So since the Muslims are not united into one party, had there been one party which would have been formed politically by the Muslims, they may have contested BJP, they may have contested Congress, but that's not the ground situation. But what the repression which is going on the Muslims, that has been indicated when one of the student who was in Jamia Hindu.
Your point well taken. When Tanveer Sahib, when we are talking about Indian elections, Delhi's emergence as a regional global state sponsoring terrorism, killing away from India. So, do you think that Modi or BJP's re-emergence would be a cause of great concern regionally and globally?
Yes, okay. Regionally, if you talk, regional is the Sak Biradari by and large. In Sak Biradari, they already have they try to have a hegemony amongst them. Their attitude is very clear about it. Specifically coming to Pakistan, India, I think Pakistan is the only country who comes head on with India in the regional Biradari. Rest of all, I don't think so. With China, of course, if you say they have neighborhood, I'll take China also in the neighborhood. With China, they dare not. It has been proven in '62 and in the recent years. So, okay. On the international forum, like one of my initial comment, that the rise of China makes India a direct beneficiary on the international forum. The USA, which had been a unipolar power for the good 3 decades plus, and then Europe, Western Europe at least, follows what USA would say. Now, the atrocities in Kashmir, for example, if you take just one example, you see, has the West or anywhere that been spoken about? No. All what they have been doing, they are carrying with it. They have been able to carry it along. So, considering Indians, and they know it very well, like Saira initially mentioned, they are very intelligently in cashing this situation, that to what extent we can stretch.
You are absolutely right.
Like
Saira,
Hardeep Singh, sorry, for example. Now, that was a very, if you talk of international, sorry, I'll just take a minute because that specifically answers your question.
Actually, we have to be very brief because we have run
okay, I'll just complete on this. Hardeep Singh case, what happened? Despite the fact that the Canadians called the diplomats, yet what happened? They didn't care for that. So, they feel, you see, India.
Even Five Eyes endorsed it.
Okay. You see, India was relevant till 90s, I would say. India is very important today. From relevance, it has become important for them. And the fundamental factor is, one where they become beneficiary is China.
Yes.
They want to stay
your point
somewhere.
well taken. Saira, if you quickly tell us about that, many of the analysts and the political opponents in India and international observers, they are saying that it is going to be a one-sided election, and if so, there would be the third consecutive term for Modi as well. So, do you think that it is going to be a disaster in this region to be Modi as a third-time Prime Minister and BJP there with its Hindutva ideology and Hindu Rashtra at its doorstep?
I think it would be detrimental to the India by itself, more than the region, more than the world. If you just restrict yourself and you just see from the lens of religion only, it is not good for any country. In the long term, in the long run, India will suffer. And unfortunately, the important pillars of the state, like Indian Supreme Court, is keeping mum on such issues. It is playing very, very very, not a significant role in curbing and in the state to have such unlawful acts like the prevention, I mentioned earlier, UAPA Act, and such sort of, and which is, they don't know that in the long run, India will suffer.
Your
Globally
and thank you very much, Saira, for being here.
They should avoid religion.
Thank you very much, Tanveer Sahab, for here in the studios. Thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Ghzanfar Ali Shah, for being online with us. Thank you very much for your presence. Viewers, you have listened to our panelists. It's a huge discussion which we tried to summarize in some of the minutes, but the ground realities tell us that there is something changing for Modi and Bharatiya Janata Party, but whatever is going on by the ruling party right now, some of the engineering or some of the tampering into the election process, what the opposition is actually claiming, it means that there is going to be some sort of engineering, and Modi wants it, what they are actually claiming. And if there would be a third consecutive term for Modi or for BJP, it is going to be their ideology intact, and that is Hindu Rashtra with the Hindutva ideology, and it is going to be disastrous for the regional countries, for the world as well, because the sentiments against Muslims are rising in India, and so as what is happening in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and in Manipur with the Muslims and Christians, and across India with the Muslim minority in that is really disturbing. This is all for today's foresight about the Indians' elections. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.